Welcome to The Dark Entry, where we delve into the realms of the strange, the mysterious, and the macabre. Tonight, we bring you a story that will make you question the limits of desperation and the terrifying consequences of curiosity. Imagine stumbling upon an unusual Craigslist ad offering a seemingly easy task, getting paid $2,000 to simply have someone watch you eat a single meal. But what if accepting this seemingly harmless job opens the door to an unimaginable horror? In tonight's story, the Craigslist gig was simple. Let me watch you eat one meal for $2,000. I should have never accepted the job. By Reddit user Outside Your Window. As we follow the unsettling journey of an individual who takes the plunge into the unknown, driven by the allure of quick cash. As events unfold, they soon realize that there is much more to this particular arrangement than meets the eye. Dark secrets and sinister forces come into play, and our protagonists find themselves entangled in a web of terror they never could have possibly anticipated. So, dear listeners, we ask you this. What would you do for $2,000? Would you be willing to cross boundaries and enter a world where the line between ordinary and the malevolent blur? Join us as we explore the consequences of one fateful decision, and brace yourselves for a chilling tale that will leave you questioning your own limits. Also, please find the link to tonight's story in the description below. So do me a favor, please go over, give this author the love that they deserve, and let them know how amazing this story is. So without further ado, sit back, relax, and settle in and prepare for the unknown, and venture with me into the heart of darkness. Welcome to The Dark Entry. The Craigslist gig was simple. Let me watch you eat one meal for $2,000. I should have never accepted the job. When I finally made it home after a week, it took 3 showers to return to normal. As I laid in my bed that night, my room lit only by my laptop, I vowed to never return to Hunting Park. When the man sent me his address a week prior, I double-checked it 3 times. Not only was Hunting Park a dangerous neighborhood, but he lived in one of the most disturbing sections of it. A devilish pocket of drugged-up zombies, muggings, and burned-out homes. Fortunately, or maybe unfortunately, the pay was too good to pass up. $1,000 for 15 minutes, or as long as it took me to eat a plate of food. I walked up to the man's door and knocked 4 times, as instructed. As I waited, I looked around at the daywalkers. One woman was face down in a pile of trash bags. Another guy was taking a crap next to a fire hydrant. Suddenly, I smelled something horrible. I looked to my left. I caught a glimpse of her hair in the bushes. It was an older woman, probably in her 50s. Her shirt was tattered, hanging off of her shoulders to barely cover her body. She turned to look at me. I noticed the dirt caked on her face, and she had one eye closed, the other open. "Please," she mumbled. I knocked on the door again, harder this time. She tried standing up, but fell face first into the bush. Where am I?" she asked. I knocked again. I don't know what scared me so much about the woman. I'd seen strung-out people before, but she felt different, like someone was attacking her from the inside. "Hello?" I yelled into the door. "I'm here." I have a son," she whispered. Please, it's... What year is it? It was only once. I don't understand. It was just... I heard the doorknob twist. I pushed forward, knocking into the man. "Oh," he said, stepping back. "Hello. Sorry, said. "That woman was just—" "You're quite skinny," the man said, inspecting me. "Is she okay?" I asked, catching my breath. "Is she always there?" The man peered outside, then closed the door. I could still hear her mumbling. "Oh, don't mind them," he said. "Our country has some problems, doesn't it?" "She just seemed, I don't know," I said, catching my breath. "I'm Andy, by the way, from Craigslist." I put out my hand, but he just stared at it, although he seemed confused by the standard professionalism. He was dressed like a banker, dark blue blazer, beige pants, a white button-down with a blue collar, and kind of a shirt finance brothers wear. Yet other parts of him felt childish, like his smile crooked and forced, like a boy on picture day. His body odor was also jarring, somewhere between spoiled meat and dish soap. It was weird. "I hope you have an appetite," he said, slipping his hand on my back. "Well, I skipped lunch like yes," I said. "Oh, good. And please make yourself at home." The apartment was surprisingly clean, or maybe it was just empty. I couldn't tell. It looked like he had only lived there for a few days. In the center of the main room was a small table with white linen draped over it. There was a chair, some candles, and a metal food dome with utensils placed alongside it. "It's real silver," he said, pointing to the table. "I'm not a flashy person, but I do see the value in having silver. Sometimes a meal is an occasion." I walked over to the setup, laying my coat on the back of the chair. The man didn't approach as I got situated. He stood a great distance back, watching me. In the emails we exchanged, he had specific instructions. Once I started the meal, I had to finish it as quickly as possible. Then I needed to leave. "Sit, please," the man said. I took a seat as instructed and looked down at the covered dish. I could feel a knot form in my stomach. "This isn't poisoned, right?" I asked. The man shook his head. No, he said. "How can I be sure?" The man looked at me for a second, clearly frustrated. "You agreed," he said. "I know, but..." The man huffed like a spoiled child. Okay, I asked. "I'll double it," he said. $2,000. Take it, or I'll go down the list of responders and pick the next one. I paused for a moment, then I imagined the money. I pictured it fanned out in my hands, how nice it would feel to cover 3 months of rent for a single, yet potentially poisoned meal. Plus, dying by poison was still better than getting screwed by my usual shame-ridden men. "Okay," I said. The man giggled, and sound made me nauseous. "Perfect," he said, reaching down to lift off the dome. On the plate was what looked like a pork chop with a side of applesauce. I leaned forward and smelled it. It smelled like pork chop and applesauce. "So, I just eat it?" I asked. "Yes," the man said, taking a small step back. "Just eat it." I picked up the fork and knife and cut into it. I stabbed a sliver of pork and inspected it. It had a pale color to it, the meat dripping with juice. It looked like a normal pork chop. "Here goes nothing," I said. I took a bite and studied the flavor. It was well cooked, a little smoky and a little sweet. "Take a bite with the applesauce," the man said, pointing at my plate. I scooped up the applesauce and lathered it in my next hunk and took a bite. It wasn't too sweet, potentially homemade. The flavors grew on me as I took another bite and then another. The smokiness of the meat mixed perfectly with the tartness of the applesauce. This was maybe the most delicious thing I've ever consumed. I hadn't had a home-cooked meal in months. The more I ate, the more the man groaned in pleasure. He rubbed his hands together, his mouth curled in a toothy smile. Before I knew it, I was done. I felt full, satisfied, and filled with a strange feeling of joy. "Wow," I said. "That was really good." 4 minutes and 23 seconds, he said. I nodded, only mildly creeped out by his attention to detail as I stood up and put on my coat. The man took a step toward me. "Is there anything else you need from me?" I asked. The man shook his head. No, he said, closing his eyes. He stretched his arms above his head and let out a long, erotic sigh. It sounded like he was having an orgasm. "Oh, God," he moaned, shaking out his arms and legs. "Oh, God." I laughed awkwardly. "All right, well, I should probably go," he said. The man dropped to his knees. "Oh, how could it feel so good? I haven't felt like I'm like a kid, a baby. Oh, God." The man's eyes rolled as a drool dripped onto the carpet. He ran his hands through his hair, spit webbed between his fingers. He didn't even notice. A distant panic set in. It felt like opening a bad report card. I didn't feel sick, but I knew I needed to leave. An alarm was sounding deep in my body. "The money," I said. "I need the money." The man dropped his face into the carpet. He started to cry, but the sound wasn't quite sad, more like relief. After a moment, he reached into his back pocket and tossed a wad of cash onto the carpet. It was wrapped in rubber bands. There's 3, he mumbled. "Take it all, please. Thank you. I don't know how I could feel like... Thank you. The man was now rubbing his face in the carpet spit, sliding his cheek across the fabric like a cat. He moaned again. I leaned over, grabbed the money, and ran outside. As I stepped into the sunlight, I was hit by a cold wind. My stomach twisted, sweat dripped down my forehead. I thought back to my poison hypothesis, but I knew that wasn't the case. I wasn't sick, at least not bodily. This was all happening in my brain. A Trojan horse attacking from the inside. I looked left, then right, and then left again. Suddenly I forgot where I was, where the subway station was, how I even got there. I ran my tongue across my teeth, dislodged a piece of meat. Now, it didn't taste smoky or balanced anymore. It tasted rotten. I stumbled down the steps and walked left, or maybe was it right? I don't remember, but I only made it a few steps. Suddenly, my face hurt. I looked up. My chest was on the sidewalk. The sun had set. It was dark and freezing. "What happened?" I asked, my voice raspy. I pushed against the ground and somehow I made it on my feet. Around me, the drug zombies were more brazen, wandering out of their hiding spots and taking to the streets. They bumped into each other, swung their fists aimlessly, howled like wolves at night. Huntington Park looked like a carnival for the insane. I looked back at the man's house, but I couldn't tell which it was anymore. I reached for my phone to check the address, but it was gone. I checked all my pockets. No phone, no wallet, no keys, no wad of cash. Help me," I whispered, but my voice was getting weaker. Each word a new challenge. I took another step forward, but my foot hit the curb. I fell forward and landed face first onto someone's lawn. Pain shot from my eyes to my ears to my collarbone. Blood dripped onto my lips. Somehow, I managed to turn on my back, now staring at the smog-hidden stars. As I watched this night sky twist and turn, I became overwhelmed by a strange feeling. I closed my eyes. Then I saw it. It was a boy's face. He had freckles and curly brown hair. His eyes were open, but not quite looking at anything. His tooth was chipped. There was a line of cut flesh below his chin running across his throat. Dark blood ran down his white t-shirt. He was young, probably no older than 7. I I felt something heavy in my hands. Looking down, I was holding a shovel. The row of homes shrank in size, the flagpole morphing into branches. I looked down, the sidewalk was gone. I was in the woods, standing over the boy's body. The trees whistled above me, the wind humming frantic, high-pitched. I couldn't stop shivering. As I looked down a second time, I realized where the boy was. The grave was too small for his body, his legs bent in different directions. Without thinking, I leaned down and scooped up a pile of dirt, and I didn't want to, but I twisted my shovel over the boy, covering his face with stones and mud. It filled his open mouth. Why did you cry so loud? The thought popped in my head. If you didn't cry, I wouldn't have needed to do this. I couldn't place the voice of these thoughts. They were invading me, attacking my pasture like hungry soldiers. You made me do this. The other boys didn't cry. You did this to yourself. You did this. I dug my fingernails into my scalp, hoping to reach in and stop the thoughts from coming, but they wouldn't. My reality kept slipping. I couldn't tell the city street from the woods. Then I felt a hand on my shoulder. I whipped around, and it was the old woman from the bushes. "Did you eat it?" she asked. Her voice was calm, measured. "Where am I?" "Oh, no," she said, squeezing my arm. "You didn't finish it, though, right?" I looked around, dazed. The woman snapped her fingers in my direction. Hey, talk to me. How much sin did you ingest? A few ounces? A pound? What was it?" I turned back, looking for a break in the trees to escape, but there was none. The forest had no exit, the trees bound together like fence posts. I turned back to the woman, still trying to catch my breath. Just breathe. The woman said. "I need to get home," I said. "My parents, they'll call the cops, right? They'll find me, right?" Unprompted, the woman stepped forward and hugged me. I hated it. It felt like getting strangled. "We didn't know what was in it," she whispered. "It's not her fault." "Get off of me," I yelled, pushing her back. She stumbled for a moment, then fell back into the grave. I walked over to look, but she was gone. Only the boy remained. Where am I? Please, someone, I don't like this. Please. I turned away from the grave and ran toward the tree line. When I got to one, I balled my hand into a fist and I punched the bark. I needed to move it. I needed to get home, to throw up, to go back to normal. Bang, bang, bang. I knocked again, then again, still no movement. The tree remained. I was trapped. I looked back at the boy. I could see his broken fingers peek out over the grave. I knocked 3 more times. This time, a light emerged, brighter than anything I'd ever seen before. I looked up. A man was standing there, a baseball bat in his hands. Please, I mumbled. I Get the hell off my porch, he said. I could see a few kids running around behind him, playing some kind of game with wooden swords. No, I tried walking forward, but he stopped me, pushing the tip of the bat into my chest. I'll smack that junkish smile off your lips, he said. Leave now. I took a step back. I said again, but it was useless. My brain and body were in separate forests, the dead boy buried between them. I stumbled down to the sidewalk, looked up. Somehow the sun was here again. It was hot, blistering like summertime. My shirt was soaked in sweat. I walked forward. The streets of Hunting Park laid out like dead vines. I kept walking until my legs wouldn't allow it. I dropped to the ground, my elbows breaking my fall. As I tried to crawl forward, I tasted another piece of meat, still lodged in my teeth. Now, as I sucked on it, it was beyond repulsive, like eating a spoonful of feces, but it wasn't feces or expired meat or a pork chop. As I chewed on the material and swallowed, my heart sank. I realized what I had eaten. As we reach the end of tonight's bone-chilling tale, I hope it has left you with a lingering sense of unease and a renewed appreciation for the choices we make. This story serves as a haunting reminder that there are hidden depths to every seemingly innocuous opportunity. It is a cautionary tale, urging us to think twice before succumbing to the allure of quick money or delving into the unknown without considering the consequences. I hope you've enjoyed this eerie journey into the darkened corners of the human curiosity and the price one might pay for venturing too far. Remember to heed the lessons learned and tread carefully in a world where the line between curiosity and danger can be alarmingly thin. Thank you for joining me on this unsettling journey. If you crave more tales of the macabre and the mysterious, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and stay tuned for more hair-raising stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Until next time, dear listeners, remember to choose your paths wisely, for sometimes the most innocuous choices can lead to the most harrowing consequences. This has been The Dark Entry, your gateway to the shadows. Good night, sleep tight. I'll keep the light on for you and the tales coming.